Thank you so much for taking the time out and joining in. Straight to the queue. The India opportunity that is spoken about, everybody knows though there is this great population demographic advantage that we have. We are geopolitically well placed. It's a widespread bucket with not too much of concentration in any particular sector, so to say, unlike some of the other major economies. So these are all well-known facts. I would love to understand from you guys that when you think of the India opportunity, as we sit on 66,000 on the Sensex, what do you think about? Any of you can start.
Could I?
Yeah, sure.
Good evening. Niraj, thanks for having me. Best wishes to me. Prime.
Thank you.
For the journey ahead. I think, we all talk about the anchor or the host said that when he was born, it was 650 and now it is 65,000. I think these are numbers. As we grow, the economy size increases, then obviously the Sensex or the Nifty levels are a reflection of that. I think, we all know that we have grown from 0 to 1 trillion and 1 trillion to 2 trillion and 2 trillion to 3 trillion. But actually, what is a big opportunity? Now, right now, if you see in India, we have roughly 35 to 40% of the population who can actually spend money on anything. What I mean is, people who have income levels which are 6 lakhs and above per annum. Below that, they are striving to just meet their day-to-day need. I think in the next 10 years, this 35-40% is going to be almost 65%. And there will be some population growth also. So from roughly like 45 crore Indians who can afford beyond roti, kapda and makan, this number is going to be like. And I think that is the big opportunity as far as India is concerned. We all know that this 3 trillion will become 6 and 6 will become 8 or 8 will become 10. But when these 50 crore become 100 crore, I think the impact on everything, whether it is consumption, whether it is on growth, whether it is on need for infrastructure, whether it is, number of cars sold, etc., will just be very, very different. And, we are not inventing anything new. If you see what has happened in Japan or Korea or Taiwan or even US or China, I think we just have to extrapolate that. So, for at least me, I think that is a big opportunity.
Okay, so the big opportunity, number of consumers in India increasing, consuming everything which is consumed by very few right now, and that is that one.
That will get reflected in the economy side. Right. So to say that 3 trillion is going to become 10 trillion, it's given.
Right.
We can't debate or dispute whether it is going to happen. It is the only thing you can debate is whether it is going to happen in X years or X plus 2 years.
That's true. So, okay, great. Okay, thanks Sunil for that opener. Saurabh, to your mind, what is that big opportunity that you think of?
I think more than the opportunity, it's worth thinking through the non-linearities in it. Right? The human mind struggles to think through non-linear changes. I think we've lived through in the last 5-6 years, we've lived through in India, 3 non-linear changes, which I don't think have fully played out. I think the effects will be felt for the next decade or so. The first non-linearity is financialization. So I remember 6-7 years ago, I used to be a broker and I used to go to the office of both of these gentlemen. I used to worry big time about India, worry about accounting fraud. I used to worry about the macroeconomy. I used to worry about lack of financial penetration. Then in the space of 3-4 years, right, demonetization happened, digitization happened. Very quickly, financialization took off, the mutual fund industry took off. And if you look at the pace of that, it's remarkable. So if I look at the PMS industry where I work, 15 years ago, PMS AUM in India was 20,000 crores. Today, it's pushing 2,80,000. Okay? And a big part of that has been the last 5-6 years. So financialization will happen not at a linear rate. It will happen at a non-linear rate. Pretty much everybody in this room, including the industry that Sunil, Nilesh represent, we will see rapid growth. I reckon we will see something in the vicinity of $1 to $2 trillion of domestic inflows over the next 10 years. The second non-linearity is digitization itself. So hard as it is to believe, UPI was only launched 6 years ago. Right? And today, UPI transactions account for $1.8 trillion. 51% of GDP is going through UPI. Right? And the reason for that is network effects. Right? If Niraj is on UPI, the greater incentive for Saurabh to be on UPI. So Niraj and Saurabh are on UPI, Sunil is on UPI. So if you look at the NPCI, go to the NPCI website, see the digitization of transactions, it is an exponential curve. COVID was a bad exponential curve. Digitization of finance is a good exponential. This has huge effects, right? Reduction in working capital cycles, reduction in tax evasion, lower transaction costs. And again, we'll see the benefits of the next 10 years. The third non-linearity, China, right? China's economic suicide, I don't think has any precedence in the modern era. If we go to Chennai, if we go to Bangalore, we can see the rate at which China's economic suicide is transforming India. So tomorrow, the world's largest machine tool plant goes live, right? 2 years ago, had you told me that in 2023, India will open world's largest machine tool plant, 220,000 square feet, an unlisted company based out of Kolkata. The plant is in Bangalore. Fanuk in China has the world's largest machine tool plant for the last 10 years, 2 lakh square feet. Just to give some people a sense of 2 lakh square feet. 2 lakh square feet is broadly the area of 2 football fields. Our pharma industry, our electronics industry, our defense industry, huge swathes of our medical device manufacturing industry will see exponential growth. So 3 exponential factors together make for a storm of change over the next 5-6 years. And it's very difficult actually to comprehend it even for people like us who live in the financial sector. I think what we're going to see in the next decade probably doesn't have precedence, certainly doesn't have precedence in India's history. I doubt even China would have seen what we're going to see in the next 10 years.
I'm sure everybody is happy to hear that. But as difficult as it may be, Saurabh, over the next 25 minutes, I'm going to try and grill you on that very topic. Rest assured. But let me first get in an opening thought from Nilesh as well. To your mind, what is that big India opportunity? I mean, it could be market driven, it could be economy driven, it could be just as a nation. What is that big opportunity for India? Albeit, please try and correlate it with how people can, benefit out of it.
There are many Indians living in America, about 50 lakh, and their median income is $125,000. We are 142 crore people. We have the same genes, blood. If we had same per capita GDP, our GDP should be $177 trillion, 50 times higher than what it is today. Now, one can argue that the Indians in America are far more smarter, of course, but we still have Saurabh bhai, Sunil bhai, Madhu bhai here. So talent is not the only issue. One can argue that Indians in America are hardworking, but even we also work hard. How many of you stay in Andheri West? Every day when you have to cross flyover, you can imagine how much hard work we do. So what kept Indians behind in India compared to America? One can argue infrastructure. When you go to American cities, you find infrastructure. In India, it was missing. But anyone who visits American airport versus Indian airport will now say that our infrastructure is catching up. So hopefully that gap will be narrowed down. The real issue is encouraging entrepreneurship, having ease of doing business. That's where Silicon Valley and US scores over India. Hopefully, policy making now will improve. The ease of doing business has increased, but it will one day reach American level. One day, Indians in India will deliver as much performance as Indians in America. That's our potential. We could be 50 times bigger than what we are today if all of us get the same environment we are getting in America.
So that's a challenge. What's the opportunity in this? I'm just trying to understand. Do you look at the natural progression as the opportunity, or do you believe there are things happening within which you're spotting?
Niraj, in the rising tide, every boat will get lifted.
Okay.
All you have to ensure is that you are not sitting in a boat which has a hole in it. Otherwise, that will sink. The opportunity is for us not to score self-goal. In the past also, this equation was valid. But we have the ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. As long as we don't score self-goals and we continue to encourage entrepreneurship, the rising tide will lift. Now, whether it grows 5 times or 50 times, it will all depend upon us.
Okay. Well, so on that note, and now feel free to just come in on the answers given by the fellow panelists as well. But Sunil, rising tide carrying all boats, there is merit to that argument because India is favorably placed geopolitically as well. When you think about the opportunity size and what are the biggest gains, or what will be the first amongst equals, how do you kind of separate the wheat from the chaff, or how do you decide what will be the first amongst the equals?
Why do you want to be even doing that? I think the whole economy is growing. And, I always see India to be, to some extent, like the US, have presence across sectors. We are not like Brazil, which is only in commodity, which is only oil and gas, or China, which is now completely government-owned. Even the digital companies are government. I think in India, we have presence across sectors. We have great financial services, IT, pharma, infrastructure, cement, steel. And this is a country which has grown because of entrepreneurs. Government at best, if it doesn't interfere, it is fine. But it is basically the entrepreneur spirit which has led to India growing even in 22 at 7% when the world was struggling to grow even 0%. I think in India, yes, there are always going to be challenges, and the challenges also become opportunities, right? The good thing is that, challenges will remain, but a lot of these challenges are being addressed very decisively. So digitization has not only led to efficiency, it has led to, a lot of cleaning of the system in terms of more transparency. We have tax collection which has gone up 20%, not because the country grew at 20%, but because now there is more transparency and very limited opportunity for someone to not, basically hate to the laws of the land. And as I said, consumption, obviously, there is huge opportunity. But consumption does not only mean the staples or the discretionary consumption. Consumption also means, there is now, I would say, residents and population demands that they want good infrastructure. Yes, that demand is a little slow to fulfill, but we have now more airports, more people are flying on a daily basis. 4.5 lakh Indians are flying, which is significantly higher than even the pre-COVID levels. I and Madhu went in Vande Bharat a few days back. We were pleasantly surprised by the efficiency of the train and the comfort also. So roads are pretty much there. I've heard someone who went to Shirdi that once you cross Bhiwandi, reaching Shirdi is like a breeze, and that new Samriddhi road. So across efficiencies are increasing. So I think, without trying to say that this is the first opportunity and this is the second opportunity, I think there are opportunities everywhere.
Okay. But I would still love to understand, Sunil, so here's the deal, right? Everybody's got a limited wallet. So when you try and think of what opportunities could do really well versus what opportunities which could do well, but maybe not as well.
From an investment perspective.
Or just
Yeah, both of us are here, why do you need to do it on your own?
That's true.
We'll take care of that.
You don't take a small amount, Sunil. That's the problem.
I think let me take this, Niraj. I think Sunil's absolutely right. The country is getting joined up. When we see other countries that have got network, right? Better roads, better planes, high-speed broadband. Typically, when you join up a country, what happens is the chota local business, that guy suffers. Because as you network a country the size of India, the world's 5th largest economy, the local player, the regional player, then has to face up to the national giant, right? And we are seeing that consolidation of profitability in our country. When I migrated to this country in 2008, the 20 largest companies, 20 largest listed companies accounted for barely 25% of the country's profits. Today, the 20 largest listed companies account for 80% of the nation's profit. The largest listed company now, HDFC Bank, that alone accounts for 8-9% of the nation's profit. Right? So this polarization of profitability has many different layers to it. At the stock market layer, perhaps the easiest layer to think about is the stock market layer. For people like us, it sort of makes our life a little harder. Unless you're able to back the industry leader, right? Whether that's in a big industry like banking or in a small industry like emulsifiers, you have to work hard to back the industry leader. But if you want to think about it at the nationwide scale, millions of smaller businesses who used to have a nice living because the country wasn't networked, they will now have to reconsider their option. This is how countries develop. This is how America developed. This is how Japan developed. This is how Korea developed. This is economic development. You transfer productive resources from lots of chota low productivity firms to giant, efficient, highly automated, well-capitalized enterprises. I think that's a change we will go through. People like us will try to make money from it, but at a human level, SMEs, it's a challenge that they will have.
You agree with this, Nilesh? I mean, just trying to understand, would the large become larger, and is that the opportunity per se, independent of which theme it might be? Just trying to understand that.
Absolutely. Big will become bigger, but that doesn't mean that small has to die. The small has to innovate. So if you remember some time back, big bazaar kind of shops came which were retailing food, grains and vegetables and so on and so forth. And everyone was worried that the Kachi Karyana guy in Mumbai will die. What did they do? They consolidated their purchases. They improved their distribution system. You can ask for a 10 rupee toothpaste and it'll deliver. And today, both of them are prospering. The same thing happened in Morbi in tiles industry. People leveraged the raw material which was available in Than and focused on quality, focused on designing. And today, Morbi is competing and dominating tiles industry in Southeast Asia. We were worried that Chinese tiles will come and destroy us. Now Morbi is exporting not only to Middle East, but also to Europe. So big will become bigger, undoubtedly for reasons which Sunil and Saurabh mentioned. But the small guys who are innovative, small guys who are able to reinvent themselves, like Morbi tile manufacturers, like Mumbai's Kachi Karyana shops, they will all survive and prosper and participate in India growth.
Any word in?
No, I think, say, in any economy, globally also, if you see, yes, there is definitely consolidation, but businesses survive. And if you actually look at, some of the smaller companies, and both listed and unlisted, if you look at the entrepreneurs, I think the Josh is phenomenal. And it's not only that Josh, now they have access to capital, which was not the case 20-25 years back. To raise 1 crore, 2 crore of equity was impossible. Now any of these HNIs would be 10-20 crore just seeing the presentation. And the other thing is, the uniqueness of businesses have also come up dramatically. The businesses which we never thought would exist, those businesses are coming up. And third most important thing is these young guys now have world-class education. So earlier when, kids used to go abroad, 99% of them used to go abroad with the thought process that they want a good job and they would settle here. Now maybe 20, 30, 40% are coming back. And I think that is what is adding. That's why I said, India is a country which grows because of entrepreneurs. And I think these small businesses do add. And I think the ecosystem is good. As I said, the capital is available. And for us to reach from 3 to 6, 7, 8, 10 trillion, it's not only going to be the large company, but also the smaller company. The other thing which we also have to realize is that, Saurabh mentioned about HDFC Bank. HDFC Bank makes 8-9% of the total profit pool because of those small businesses. HDFC is not into corporate lending. They are into SME lending. They are into retail lending. And I think this whole ecosystem somehow gets captured, and there is opportunity for everyone.
Okay. And, it's interesting because just before the event, Saurabh was telling me about how, without getting an exact number, but a sizable proportion of their inflows into their funds comes from smaller towns. So there is money out there. Our next panel has Sanjeev Sharma of ABB, and he was telling me, Niraj, sorry, but I don't come to Mumbai because most of the time I'm traveling to tier 3, tier 4 places because that's where the real activity seems to be happening. So as much as I'm a Mumbarkan, I love the city.
No, 100%. I think, when I was in Reliance, we were in mass retail. When I started Abacus 5 years back, we started meeting investors. And I can tell you very clearly, the number of wealthy people in India is much more than any numbers can present or what any of us can imagine. And the kind of wealth which people have is again something which is unimaginable. And more importantly, now you have liquidity events. Some companies are getting listed, some are exiting, some are doing something. So wealth is there everywhere.
And I'm trying to understand, when you take not just the next 1-2 years, but let's say the coming decade or the next 7 years, right? What is that one opportunity that you think is top of mind for you? It could be an investment opportunity. It could be something that's happening in a particular sector that people should take notice of, irrespective of the listed investments or no out there. Saurabh, I'll start with you on this.
Just like positive change of the sort we've been discussing creates opportunities, negative change also creates opportunities. I think one aspect of negative change we all have to recognize is that climate change is upon us.
Right.
So if you look at IT industry, it has created a lot of big businesses, a lot of value. What was IT industry in maybe 2003, 2004 is where healthcare industry is today. About 1/3 of doctors in America and UK are made in India origin. 45% of medicine consumed by volume in US is made in India. Today, if you want American visa, wait period is probably 2 years. But if you are a nurse, then American Consular General will be happy to come to your home and deliver the visa. And most importantly, the cost of healthcare delivery.
On that thought, Sunil.
No, I will again go back to where I started from. So if you have 50 crores of people who can afford things going to 100 crores and the super rich multiplying 5x the next 7-8 years, 5x. I think discretionary consumption is the place. I'm not talking about consumer papers. There's already penetration. But the discretionary spend, I think it will surprise all of us. I think the whole consumerism is going to drive, and beyond a point, I think people have started to spend. That is a fact of life. So it's a multi-year opportunity. Obviously, buying the shares at the right valuation is a challenge, but if that is one opportunity, I think that is going to be the opportunity.